Hello everybody, welcome back. Sorry for not uploading for a little bit. Um, so today's section is going to be about equations involving fractions. And so in order to solve equations with fractions, we need to know how to find the least common denominator. And I'll show you how to do that in an example, but I more thoroughly explained it in a previous video. I'll have an info card in the top right. Alright, so let's move on to example 1 now. So solve 1/2 x plus 2/3 equals 3/4. So one way to do this is you see that 2, 3, and 4. Now you need to figure out what do they have, like when you multiply them, what number do you get? That's one of the ways to find a least common, not a least common denominator, but the what's it called? It's a multiple. It's a common multiple between them. So 2 times 3 times 4, sorry about that, is 24, right? That would be one of the multiples of 2, 3, and 4. But another one would be 12. 12 would be another multiple. And you can see that because 12 divides by 2, 3, and 4. So 12 is a multiple of 2, 3, and 4. So now what you can do is you can just multiply by 12 to both sides. Remember, what you do to the one side, you have to do to the other side as well. So 12 times 3 over 4. And now we're going to multiply fractions, and we're also going to use the distributive property for this side. So we have 12 times 1/2 x. So we know that 2 times 6. Here, let me just write it here. So we know that 2 goes, or 12 divided by 2 is 6. So then you would get, and then you would also incorporate the x. So then you get 6x. I'm going to erase it now because I don't need it. So we're just going to get 6x, and then you do the same thing here, except 12 divided by 3 is 4. So then you would do 2 times 4, which is equal to 8. And then you would do the same thing on this side as well, which is, so 12 divided by 4 is 3, and then you would do 3 times 3, which is 9. So then you have 6x equals 9 minus 8. Remember, in order to get rid of the 8 and bring the numbers onto one side, you have to subtract 8 from both sides. So there you would get 1, and then you would get x, and then you divide 6 by both sides. Or you divide both sides by 6, and then you get 1/6. Okay, so there is another way to do it, and this is the way I'm going to do it for the rest of the video. You can choose to do it however way you want. I just like doing the way that I'm used to. So the equation is 1/2 x plus 2/3 plus 3/4. Got it. Not plus, equals 3/4. So when I solve it, I'm obviously going to get the same answer. It's just a different technique. So what I do is I bring the numbers to one side first, which we know is 2/3 and 3/4. They're both numbers. So we keep the 1/2 x on one side, and then we subtract 2/3 from both sides, which is equal to 3/4 minus 2/3. So now over here we need an LCM because these denominators are not the same, therefore we cannot subtract them. So let's just focus on this side of the equation for now. Let's just focus on this side. Right. So we have we have 3/4 minus 2/3, and we're gonna take it into an LCM of 12, just like we did before. Well, we didn't actually do LCM before. We just did the least common, or the lowest common multiple. So we would do 12, and then 4 times 3 is 12. So then 3 times 3 is 9, minus 3 times 4 is 12. So then 2 times 4 is 8. And then we would get 1 over 12. Now, since we have let me just write it over here actually. We have 1/2 x equals 1/12. There we go, 1/12. So now we would multiply it with its reciprocal. So a reciprocal is basically when you flip the numerator and the denominator. So 1/2 is equal, it's not equal to, but it's when you do a reciprocal, you'll get 2, and then that will cancel out, because 2 divided by 2 is 1. So say your fraction is 2/3, the reciprocal will be 3/2. You're basically flipping the numerator and denominator. Anyway, let's go over here, and now we're going to multiply both sides by 2. Remember that 1/2 x is also equal to x/2. So then we get x/2 times 2 is equal to, since 1/12 times 2 is equal to 2/12, I'm just going to write 2/12 like this. And then we know that that cancels out, and we're going to get x equals, and since this 2 goes into 12 6 times, we're going to simplify it and get 1/6. So as you can see, we got the same answer, it's just 2 different methods. So this is the method I'm going to use. Okay, so now this is another one, another example. We see that we cannot bring any numbers to the other side because it is combined as a fraction, it is not separate. So since it's x minus 2/3 and not x/3 minus 2, we cannot bring the 2, we can't bring this 2 over to the other side of the equal sign. Alright, so we're going to take a common denominator actually, and so the how would I say this? The least common multiple, yeah. So the least common multiple is 24. You would do 8 times 3 because there's nothing in between. There's nothing below 24 that is both divisible by 8 and 3. Yeah. Okay, so we would take a common denominator of 24. Now, since we're multiplying this whole equation, so basically what we're doing x minus 2/3, and then we're timesing it by 8/8. Okay, so that would become, now we're going to use the distributive property to simplify, and we're going to get 8x minus 16 plus, and then we do the same thing here. I'm just not going to show it because, here, you know what, I'll show it anyway. So we're going to have x plus 1/8 times 3/3. Remember that when you're doing your least common multiple and your least common denominator, or your denominator stuff, your common denominator stuff, you have to multiply, like, whatever you're multiplying. So say you're multiplying, like, 2/2. You have to multiply it to both the numerator and the denominator, and these have to be the same. They have to be the same when you're doing common denominator. And that's a big pointer, I guess. So now we're going to use the distributive property again. So 3 times x is 3x. Oops, let me just fix that. So 3x, and then we're going to do 3 times 1, which is 3. So plus 3. Now we're going to simplify this. We're just ignoring the right side of the equation right now because we don't have anything to do with it. So we're going to simplify this, and we're going to get 8x plus 3x is 11x, and then minus 16 plus 3, which is minus 13/24, is equal to 5/6. So now, instead of doing a reciprocal, we're just going to multiply both sides with 24. So 11x minus 13/24 times 24 is equal to 5/6 times 24. Alright, so now we know that 24 and 24 is going to cancel out. So then we would do, since 6 goes into 24 4 times, we would do 6 times 4, which is 24. So then we would just cross out the 6 and 24, and we would get 4, write 4 over it. And we have 11x over 11x minus 13, sorry. And then 5 times 4, which is, which is 20. Now we're going to do the same process we've always done, bring the numbers to one side, keep the x's on the other. 11x equals, so 20 plus 13, which is 33. X is equal to, and we're going to divide both sides by 11. 33 over 11. And then we know that 11 goes into 33 3 times, so x is equal to 3. So that might be a difficult one for you, but it's alright. You'll get it. You'll get it if you rewatch it a couple of times. So the width of a rectangular parking lot is 8 feet less than 3/5 of the length. The perimeter of the lot is 400 feet. Find the length and width. So for this one, I'm just going to draw a quick diagram. Sure, let's do that big. Okay, and we're going to do, so the width. I always confuse the width and the length, but this is the width. So 8 feet less than 3/5 of the length. So let's just say the length is x, which is this side. So this side is x. This side is x, and then we're gonna do 8 feet less than 3/5 of the length. So 3/5 x minus 8. That's gonna be the width. And then, so the perimeter is 400 feet. So now I'm going to tell you a perimeter formula. So the perimeter, you would write that as a big, an uppercase P, is equal to 2W plus 2L. So 2 times width and then plus 2 times length. So in this case we have W equals 3/5 x minus 8, and length is equal to x. So now we're just going to plug that into the formula and then solve for x. So P equals 3/5 x, or no, and then we also know that P is equal to 400. I forgot to mention that. I also forgot to highlight, actually, but that's alright. You don't always have to highlight your information. So 400 is equal to 3/5 x minus 8. Oh wait, I forgot the times 2. 2 times 3/5 x minus 8. I'm so sorry if you cannot see what I'm writing. Hopefully you can. It's not another equal sign, but yes, so then sorry for these technical difficulties. And then we're going to do plus 2 times L, which is equal to x. Okay, so now we're going to use a distributive property to simplify this this equation. This one. Okay, so distributive property, 2 times 3/5 x. Since we cannot simplify anything, we're just going to multiply 2 times 3, which is 6 over 5, and then x minus 2 times 8 is 16, plus 2x, and then we're going to bring the numbers to one side. Since this is separate from a fraction, this number is separate from the fraction, which means we can safely, or we are allowed to take it to the other side. Remember, to remove any numbers, you have to add or subtract that number from both sides. So in this case, we're adding. We're going to do 400 plus 16, which is 416. And then now we're going to have to do common denominator over here. I'm just rewriting the equation really quick. So now, since we're all done simplifying all the numbers, we're going to just focus on the right side of the equation. So since there is no denominator for the right side of there's no denominator for the 2x, right? That basically means that whatever the denominator is for this other fraction, you basically have to keep that as the denominator. That's your lowest common denominator. Or that's your common denominator. Keep mixing up the lowest common multiple and denominator and this stuff. Anyway, so since we know that 5 is going to be the common denominator, we're just going to put 5 at the bottom, alright? And then we're going to have to multiply both the numerator and denominator with 5. That's because this is 2x over 1. So numerator and denominator with 5. So this side is going to remain the same. The 6x is going to remain the same. We're going to do the plus sign. And then 2x plus 5 is 10x, which is equal to 16x over 5. Now we're going to multiply both sides with 5 in order to get rid of this denominator. Whoops, I don't know what that was. And we're going to do... So yeah, since we're multiplying both sides with 5, we're multiplying both sides with 5. So then we're going to do... 416 times 5 is equal to... And then 16x. Since I don't know what 416 times 5 is mentally, I'm going to do it on the side over here. 0, 3, 5 plus 6 is 8, and then 5 times 4 is 20. So we get 2080. So 16x equals 2080. No, whoops. I also don't know how many times 16 goes into 2080, so we're just going to do a little bit of simplification. We're going to divide both sides with 16 in order to get 2080 over 16 is equal to x, and then we're just going to try and simplify. So we're just going to simplify with 4 first, and that brings us there. We're going to do 5, and then 2, and then just put the 0 there, and then yeah, that goes in with 13, so that's 130. So x is equal to 130. I think. Yeah, x is equal to 130, at least according to my calculations. If you want to email me or something that's saying it's wrong, or write in the comments, but I think it's right. Okay, so let's move on to example 4. One of two complementary angles is 6 degrees larger than half of the other angle. Find the measure of each angle. So a complementary angle, that should not be new, but if it is, a complementary angle is two angles that add up to 90, two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So let's say I split it right there. This angle plus this angle is equal to 90 degrees. Alright, so now let's change the color, that way it's a little bit easier to distinguish the angles. And then this one's going to be red. Okay, so one of the two complementary angles is 60 degrees. Okay, so let's just take the red one as x, and then the black one is going to be 6 degrees larger than half the other angle. So you're going to do 1/2 of x plus 6, and that's going to be your other angle. So since we know that complementary angles are two angles that add up to 90, we can just do x plus 1/2 x plus 6 is equal to 90. And then you're going to subtract 6 from both sides to get the numbers on one side, x is on the other, which is equal to 90 minus 6. Crap, I forgot. 84, right. Okay. Oh, I forgot the x. Anyway, so once again, the only denominator is 2, which means the denominator for this is going to be 2, which means you're going to multiply 2 over 2, which means you get 2x over 2. All of it is going to be over 2, and then plus x. 1x is equal to x, remember that, guys. Is equal to 84 times both sides with 2. Move on over here. And then you get 2x plus x. I'm just going to simplify both of them. So you get 3x, and then you get 84 times 2. which is equal to 168. So we're going to get 3x equals 168. And then, let's see here. You're going to get x is equal to 168 over 3, 5. I'm just checking if it's actually compatible, which it is. So then you get x is equal to 56. And then, is it asking for the second angle as well? Yes, it is. So the formula is half of the angle plus 6. So 1/2 of 56 plus 6 degrees. So half of 56 is 28. So you get 28 plus 6, which is equal to 30, 30, 34. And we can check that this is right by adding 56 plus 34. You get 0, 1, and you get 90 degrees. Therefore, we know our answer is right. So this is going to be our last example here, example number 5. So Dominic's present age is 10 years more than John's present age. In 5 years, John's age will be 3/5 of Dominic's age. What are their present ages? Okay, so this one is going to require a little bit of effort. I mean, I'm pretty sure the last ones did too, but this one's going to require a bit more effort and thinking. If you think you can do it, go ahead, pause the video. If not, just follow along, and hopefully you'll get it. If not, just rewatch it, and then I'm pretty sure you'll be able to understand it. So Dominic's present age is 10 years more than John's present age. So let's see, Dominic is going to be D, and then John is going to be J. I'm just going to use that. So Dominic is 10 years older than John. So x, and then he's going to be x plus 10. In 5 years, so you're going to add 5 to both sides, because in 5 years, and then both of them are going to be grown by 5 years. So you're going to x plus 15, and then x plus 5. John's age will be 3/5 Dominic's age. So 3/5 of x plus 15 should equal x plus 5. So now, there are two things you can do. You can make it a lot simpler and multiply both sides with 5 and bring it over there. Or you can make it a lot harder for yourself and do distributive property, and then, deal with all the fractions and stuff, which I really don't want to do right now. So I'm going to be the smart person and multiply both sides with 5 in order to get rid of this 5. So we're going to have 3 times x plus 15, which is equal to 5 times x plus 5. Alright, so we're going to do 3 times x, and then 3 times 15, which is 45, is equal to 5, oh my god, 5x, and then 5 times 5 is 25. So now we're going to bring the x's on one side, and then the numbers on the other side. So since I don't want to get into the negative numbers, I'm going to bring the 3x over to the right side of the equation, and the 25 over to the left side of the equation. So we're going to add 3x, or no, we're going to subtract 3x to both equations, and then we're going to subtract 25 to both equations as well. So we're going to get, I'm just going to flip it around because you can do that, and then you can get 5x minus 3x, and it just makes it look a little bit more, it makes it look a little easier for me. I'm used to doing it this way. So, and then you get 45 minus 25. I'm sure I could do that right now, but I'll just do it step by step. So 2x is equal to, let's see, 45 minus 25 is 20. X is equal to 10. And then Dominic, so since J equals 10, this guy is equal to 20, since x plus 10 and x is 10, so then you get 10 plus 10 is equal to 20. Okay, and that should the addition right there should be simple enough. But the part where you do the fractions and stuff, that might be a little difficult. So if you don't understand it, just rewatch this portion. If you even after rewatching this video and you still need help, go ahead and contact me. I can help you out and help you understand anything you need. And yeah, that's gonna be today's video.